Hey guys, it's Diabolos back with Card 5 Vanguard Upper Files. So I hope you guys enjoyed them. Like, comment, subscribe, and so this time we're covering DZ Set 3 Dark States Baphormedes. So normally I don't do random decks. Well, okay, if I do random decks, it'll typically be like a theme, like the last time I did it where like it was one from each nation. The reason why I'm doing it now is because someone requested it, and I said if I had the time I would do it. Technically I don't have the time, but you know, I can make things happen. So let's go into the stuff, shall we, and see what we got. And shout out to you as I quickly pull up your name. I'm just gonna cut to the moment where I find his name. At Redark Fall. Let's go into the stuff, shall we, what we got. First up, we have our energy generators. You know, it's a ride deck crest. You want ride deck crest in your ride deck. Auto ride deck, when you ride, put this card into your crest link, win second energy charge 3, and then continues to make up to 10 energy. Then I'll begin ride phase, energy charge 3. Then act once per turn, energy blast 7 to draw a card. All around pretty solid. You know, there's only one other card in this deck that takes up energy for its skill. I stand corrected. I don't know why I'm thinking that this is the deck that has stuff with energy stuff. But pretty much you're gonna constantly get free 3 energy every turn, and then you're also gonna get to draw off it, which is pretty helpful because, you know, being able to help increase your hand in a deck that has a lot of grade 3s is a nice addition to have. So that's a ride deck crest for you. Then we have our starter in Desire Devil Tida, grade 0 boost, 5 control, escape base, auto roll, 5 second draw card. Standard starter is positive free draw if you go second. You can run any starter you want, as you will come to see. I would pick this ride line to be the way it is for a reason. You don't need Tida, you don't need the specific grade 1, you don't need the specific grade 2. I just choose to make it Tida because, I don't know, when Baphormedes came out, this was like the theme I was going for some reason, so one of Tida in the ride deck. Then we have our triggers for over trigger and Hades Dragon DD of Resentment, Gamaga Helm, grade 0 boost, 50k shield, 5k power, over trigger in your deck, and as trigger with the card, draw a card, choose 1 meets, against 1 million for the turn. And if you do it during your jet check, activate its adjust function, which you get to get during your turn. All your Vanguards get plus 10 power and plus 1 critical until the end of this fight. All around, pretty solid, you know. I mean, the Vanguard, a free 10k and a crit is very nice pressure, especially because it's staying. And if you pull this early enough, you're pretty much guaranteed to win because your Vanguard will always have that 10k and a crit pressure. So it's hard to guard against. Gamaga Helm is very nice for that reason. You can run Van Freeze because they have that same skill. You can run Walnut for more consistent multi-attacking, which is a possibility. You can run Asphoria for recycling, again, possibility. Or you can run either of the 2 other over triggers, the Borg Nuke one and the Healing one. But I choose to make Gamaga Helm because A, I like to stick with the Nation over triggers, and B, well, if you do flip Gamaga Helm over early, your opponent's probably not going to be able to stop you unless they kill you before you get to grade 3, because, man, if you pull this like on first grade 1 turn or grade 2 turn, and you get that double crit and 10k from the rest of the game on, oh, it's very hard to deal with, especially in a deck that can get numbers and force out your opponent to guard 3 or more at the same time. So one of Gamaga Helm. Then we have our normal triggers on total 7 crits, 3 copies of Flinty Slasher, 4 copies of Stem DVJ. I don't know why I kept it as Steam and not Stem. And there's grade 0 boost, 50k shield, 4k power for Stem, 15k shield, 5k power, grade 0 boost for Flinty Slasher. You can really run any crit in Flinty Slasher. This place has made it Flinty Slasher because this was in the original deck of Baphormedes. I don't know why. I guess because I was copying it from Barom, so by default, this was the crit. I just didn't feel like changing it, so I guess Flinty Slasher is here for that. And then Stem Deviate, well, auto rear guard, and then boost to shove to soul, choose 1 reads to get 2k for the turn. Okay. That is actually useful depending on the situation. The 2k won't make a difference. Actually, the 2k would make a difference depending on like what your current board state looks like. But this going to soul might, because there's a very specific grade 3 in here that likes to eat up soul. And because you want to have a multiple grade 3s in soul, having any fodder you can is nice, even if the deck does have a little bit of guarding power, guarding problems. So form Stem Deviate just for that reason alone, being able to go to soul. And again, 7 crits, you know, that's nice for pressure. If only I would drive check them. It seems like this deck chooses when it wants to work, as in, if I put in a best of 3, it's going to lose the other 2 matches because it refuses to sack triggers, like, at all. Like, even if it's just, like, 1 trigger at a time, it will never sack a trigger for its life. But then, when it gets to, like, a game that it wants to work, it'll proceed to be sacking off, like, on and on, like, on, to keep going. But whatever, either way, 7 crits for the pressure. Then we have 4 draws and Raws, Riley, grade 0 boost, 5k shield, 4k power, continues guard stroke, plus Vanguard's grade 3 guard, plus 5k shield. You know, it's a 10k shield, nice to have it to draw triggers up to increase the hand. If only I saw Riley more so I could draw my grade 3s more, not just draw triggers more, but hey, being a 10k shield in a lot of grade 3 base deck is a nice card to have. So we got the 4 of draw, we got the 7 of crits, like the one deck from set 3 that I don't run 2-2 in terms of fronts and draws. And then we have 4 copies of Steam Scar and Melnageld, so grade 0 boost, 50k shield, 5k power. Standard healing, nothing special. You can really run any healing in place of this, again, just copies from Barrow, but You can even run the counters if you want to, the fluctuating 10, 25k shields, but I'd rather have a consistent 15k shield over those because I don't like the messing with the shield value. So 4 of Steve's Gar, again, it can be any hero you want, just to make it village for that reason alone. So 7 crits and 4 draws, 4 heals. Then we went to our grade 1s. 2 copies of Friend of the Netherworld Ling. It was the hardest decision of my life to put her down to 2 because, man, in every deck I run her, and Ling proves why she's here. Anyways, grade 1 boost 5k shield, aka base, obviously has a moon in the background, so bias for a reason why I'm keeping her. Auto, when she's placed on rearguard circle, check the top 2, choose a card from Mudland, put it to soul, and put the rest on bottom deck in any order. So basically, shove a card soul, bot deck 1. Sometimes she will make you flip 2 triggers, and basically you gotta pick which of the 2 triggers is more important to keep in deck or which of the 2 triggers is more important to keep in soul. But there are times where she will flip over grade 3, and those are the times we live for because, the deck wants to hit more grade 3s into soul. The reason why I put her down to 2 is because that's not always going to happen. But a lot of the times, Link can definitely hit a grade 3 into soul, and if you know me, then you know I like to play on the aggressive. So having more grade 1s, especially ones that are free on place that can end up helping towards the deck's endgame, is pretty nice to have. So 2 of Ling. Again, it hurt me to put her down to 2. There is a reason why I put her down to 2, and it's a pretty dumb one at that, but it happened. We're going to roll with it. That's just how it is. I'm sorry, Ling. It's nothing personal. 2 of. Next up, we have 4 copies of Exaggerate Draco Kid. Grade 1 boost, 5k shield, AK base, continues rearguard, guard, circle, or soul. If your vanguards are grade 3 or greater, it gets grade +2. So being a grade 3 in soul or on rearguard or on guard circle is pretty helpful because, I don't know, it procs off our main grade 3's effect. So that's pretty nice. And then the other skill is auto when placed on rearguard circle. If your soul has a grade 3 in it, you may soul charge 1, not a mandatory soul charge, but you can if you want to. Then if you soul charge to grade 3, this effect, choose a card from your drops, choose a grade 3 card from your drops and put it to soul. So technically speaking, you can hit 2 grade 3s into your soul at once. I think I've only ever pulled off that ability like twice, but being able to soul charge 2 cards is nice. And again, being a grade 3 both soul, rear guard, and guard circle, which means it procs off all of Baphormedes' abilities, is nice to have. I love Exaggerate Draco Kid a lot. I just wish there was a more consistent way to guarantee you soul charge grade 3s, but it's a nice card to have, so why not run it as a 4 of in this deck? Then we have 4 copies of our PG and Repelled Malice Dragon, grade 1 boost, 0 Sosuke, base, continuous sentinel. You have to 4 sentinels in the deck, and let's put on guard circle, choose 1 roots, it cannot be hit in battle. If your hand has 2 more cards in it, choose a card from your hand, guard, standard PG. Nothing just special about that basically means that this only one card is in your hand when you place it on guard circle. You don't have to discard one's great, because that means you can be as aggressive as you want in the early game. Spam, please, for love of God. Okay, maybe not this one, because you don't want to miss the soul charge skill, but definitely spam Ling if you have it. And then when your opponent eventually counterattacks you for going all out on the offense, well, that's where using the PG comes in handy, because then you don't have to discard one when your opponent attacks you, and then you're safe from their attack. All around, Repelled Malice Dragon is a very solid PG to have. You can run this, you can run Skill Hate Dragon, you could run the other new PG, whose name I completely forget. Any of them work because they all have the exact same skill. I just used to make a Repelled Malice because it came out close to the time of Baphormedes' release. Then we move on to our last grade 1 in the deck, 1 of in the right deck, none of in the main deck of Deep Sonicer. Grade 1 boost, 5k shield, AK base, auto when it's placed on Vanguard Circle, soul charge 1. So cool, it increases your soul count, could possibly hit a grade 3, that's the hope at least. And then continues rear guard during turn if your soul has 10 or more cards in it, plus 1's power. Okay, that's not going to matter, because even though you can call this from soul, I guarantee you are not going to hit that 10 soul, especially if you play this the way I play this. But being a possible 18k booster and or swinger is pretty nice, and not to mention the fact as well, free soul charge the second he's placed. So it's not a bad card. It's not a card you're going to call from so often, but if you do call it, you can work with that. So 1 of in the right deck, none of the main deck of Deep Sonicer. Then we have our grade 2 cards. First up, we have 3 copies of Game of Underworld. Grade 2 set order. After set orders played, put a orders on, then auto orders on, begin your battle phase. Choose one of your back or rear guards, gives boost for the turn. Okay. This is how you're going to give a bunch of your grade 3s boost in case you don't want to use Baphormedes, because Baphormedes, considering he requires 2 grade 3s or 3 grade 3s in soul to get boost, that means you're most likely going to have to waste a column of attacks unless you hit them all in soul pretty early. So Game of Underworld's pretty much here to guarantee at least 1 column is actually going to be a grade 3 boosting a grade 3 and not just a grade 3 swinging on its own. So that's nice. And then obviously, to support it, we have 3 copies of Sage's Schemer. Grade 2 SF 5k shield, 10k base. Auto puts on the rear guard circle by soul busting 1, check after 1 game of Underworld, put it to Order Zone, shuffle deck. Auto pretty solid because it can help you get another Underworld into Order Zone. Technically speaking, you can play 2 orders in 1 turn, which is nice. And then continues rear guard if this unit was chosen by the ability for game of Underworld in the Order Zone this turn, plus 5 power. So 15k base, nice to have. Boost your target for Game of Underworld. Again, mainly your targets are your grade 3s that are going to go to soul on Baphormedes' skill. But you know, it can pick other cards as well, and being Sagacious Schemer, who will be a 15k booster, well, that is nice to have. So 3 of both of them, obviously, for combos. And then we have 3 copies of Dark Bond, Abyss, Surga, and Dargage. Great to intercept 5k shield, 10k base, auto placed on the rearguard circle from other than hand, other than during the battle phase. Look at the same number, wait, it has to be placed from hand, and it has to be not during the battle phase. Look at the same number of your cards at the top of the deck as the number of set orders in your order zone plus 1. Choose a card from among them, put it to soul, and if you looked at 2 or more, shuffle the deck, and then Diabolos will perform one of the following. Either choose a grade 2 or grade unit card from your soul, put it to hand, or choose a set order from your soul, put it to hand. All around pretty solid because you're always at least going to look at one card, and it can combo really well with Sagacious Schemer over here in Game of Underworld that can basically stack your set orders and give you much more targets for Dargage, who can then hit more grade 3s into soul consistently and possibly fetch you out Persona Ride or fetch you a order back. All around, Darkseid is a very good grade 2. I like it a lot. I like her art a lot too because of, you know, her Crimson Flame sword and then her like dragon spewing fire. I think this card's really cool. I like it as a 3 of. I would have put it up to 4, and I could have because nothing else in this deck CBs outside of her and Mirava over here, but I chose to keep her at the 3 of because A, spacing, and 2, I wanted more grade 3s, and I feel like these are enough grade 2s, especially because, you know, this gives them boost at worst case scenario. Again, you're not really going to use her for the boost, but again, worst case scenario happens sometimes, so 3 of her. Then we have one of in the ride deck and on the main deck of Diabolos, Anger, Richard, Allows grade 2, and stuff 5k shield, 10k base. All one place on Vanguard Circle, play rearguard to soul, draw a card, and continues rearguard if you're in front of rush plus 5 power. Okay, that ability will never go off. You will never call this from Mirava unless you absolutely have to, and there's no other reason. You will never pull this off from Surga because, again, unless you absolutely have to, there's no better reason to. So then, by just being placed on Vanguard, get a free soul and draw. This is where being aggro comes in, and where pretty much calling this is going to be your greatest ally. Because by calling it to rearguard, if your opponent doesn't kill it while you're on grade 1 and you grade 1 rush them, once you get to grade 2, you send this to soul and you get the draw. So even though it's not a grade 3 right now, when you hit grade 3, you automatically have a free grade 3 in soul, meaning when you use Baphormedes to skill later and send 2 grade 3s to soul, you'll automatically have at least 3 to give your grade 3s plus 5,000 shield and boost. All around, Richard does help for that nice little combo. I do like him a lot. I think he is a good ride deck grade 2. You're just never going to use that final rush skill because he physically can't, but he is a nice card to have, so one of in the ride deck, none in the main deck. Then we move on to our grade 3s, the main aspects of the deck. First, we have 4 copies of Time Jerry Dragon, whatever the hell. Grade 3, 13k base, auto placed on rearguard, circle about hand card to soul to draw a card. All around pretty solid, you know, it's just a free hand card to soul. You get a free draw out of it, which is nice. It can help send grade 3s to soul, it can help send triggers to soul if you really need to, and it can help replace your draws. Now, I remember there were games where I straight up gambled on Time Gyrate's ability. I believe the exact situation was I had a Time Gyrate, I had 2 Time Gyrates, and I had a trigger. I knew for a fact that I needed to hit this was my only way to get a grade 3 into soul, that was physically available to me, and it was my way to get, you know, Baphormedes to good numbers. Except the situation, because I was well off from getting to 6. Except the situation was I needed 3 attacks per game, and I'm pretty sure, and at the time, this was the old version of the deck, so basically, I either pulled a grade 3 or I pulled a trigger, and I knew that gambling on that was a bad idea, but I needed the 3 attacks, so I sent the trigger to soul, top decked into the boy that I always combo with him, and whoop-de-doo, it all worked out at the end of the day. So Time Gyrate's a very good grade 3. He can get you soul cards, and he can definitely pull you out of risky situations, especially with the amount of grade 3s you have, meaning we have multiple ways of offense. So 4 Time Gyrate. He may be a card all the way back from set 2, but I thought he was a set 1 card, honestly, but he may be all the way back from set 2, but he still carries use to this day, so 4 of. Then we have 4 copies of the card I always run in tandem with him, so if you see one of them, you'll probably see the other. Execution Dragon, Vorpal Scythe Dragon. I think there's one deck that's the exception to that, and that's 5 new. Anyways, grade 3, 10%, 13k base. Act rearguard once per turn by soul blasting 2. Choose one of your opponent's rearguards to kill it, and then auto rearguard once the attacks hits, you may soul charge 2. All pretty solid because just a simple soul blast 2. Again, typically it's going to be your ride deck, or it's going to be your triggers that you soul charge either from Time Gyrate over here or your other cards, and pretty much you're going to be able to kill an opponent's rearguards, you know, get rid of their attacking pressure, slow them down a little bit, or get rid of their defensive cards. And then, you know, when he hits anything, it doesn't have to be a Vanguard, it can be a rear guard. You get to soul charge 2, and it's not a mandatory soul charge, so if your opponent's trying to deck you out so they take the attack, you don't have to soul charge, but it is a nice option to soul charge because it's a way to possibly hit grade 3s in the soul. I remember there was one game, because I remember earlier when I said that the deck chooses when it wants to sack and when it doesn't want to sack, that also applies to me soul charging grade 3s. There was a game where I soul charged every grade 3 perfectly. I soul charged one off of Sonicer, I got an opening with this guy in my hands, I was able to send it to soul for Richard, I then had a second one, I called it, I soul charged a grade 3, and I sent it to grade 3 from my drops them back into the soul. I flipped off Time Gyrate to send this boy to Soul to draw a card, and then off this boy, I literally Soul Charged 2 grade 3s. Like, quite literally everything went right for me in that game. Anyways, though, Vorpal is a very good grade 3 to have. He does have on-hit pressure that could end up winning you the game, which is why I always like to swing with him first before and typically he's my soul target for Baphormedes, because if he does hit and I get more grade 3s in the soul, well, I get to set up for possibly Baphormedes' second skill. So all around pretty solid for that reason alone. So for Vorpal, very good grade 3, gets rid of rear guards, has on hit pressure, can lead to Baphormedes' skill. What's like about him? Then we have 4 copies of Heat, Haze, Acrobat, Mirava, grade 3, 200% right, 13k base. Auto when she's placed on rear guard circle from the hand during your main phase. Card boss will choose a card from your soul with grade less than equal to your Vanguard. Put the chosen card to your hand if it has the same name as that unit. So basically, if you have a Persona Ride, or call it to rear guard if it does not. And if you put a card from your hand, put this unit gets 5 power for that turn. Aura pretty solid. You know, she's either 18k and get you a rear guard, or she gets you a Persona Ride, which is nice. Most of the time, it's not going to get you a Persona Ride, at least if you're like me and all of your Persona Rides end up in hand, then you have to discard them, stay alive, via PGs, obviously. But being able to fetch back any card is nice, because either she gets you guard power, or she does get you guard power in the form of like Baphormedes' skill, but you know, she gets you Persona Ride, or she gets you a free rear guard, which you know can be a Time Gyro who procs his skill, or a Vorpal Scythe who can kill rear guards now, or you know, a Dark Dodge, or not Dark Dodge, because Dark Dodge won't proc, but you can bring out Sage Schemer and get this order out, or you can bring out the Draco Kid and try to hit as a grade 3 outfit. Either way, though, Mirava is a very solid grade 3. You know, she gets you rear guards. If you have excess grade 3s and so, you can definitely call them with the skill. And she, you know, she's an 18k base. If you did end up getting a hand card to get that Persona right out, she's just a nice card to have, and I like her as day 4 of. If you want to replace her with the new DZ set 3 card, that's like, I think it's Soul Charge 1, Energy Blast 2, or Energy Blast 3, one of the two. Kill one of your rear guards, kill one of your opponent's rear guards, Soul Charge 1, and it'll give 5 the power. Is pretty solid. I like that card as well. You could run it over Time Gyrate or Mirava, but I like Mirava's ability to get rear guards more, so it's up to you on that one. Either way, she's a nice 4 for me. And then we have our last grade 3 in the deck. 1 of in the ride deck, 3 of in the main deck of Demonic Lord of Hades Blaze Baphormedes. Grade 3, 10% 13k base. Auto Vanguard with 2 attacks into a Vanguard by putting any 2 grade 3 rear guards into your soul. Draw a card and he'll get +tons of power for that battle for every 3 grade 3s in your soul. And then contains Vanguard. It gets all the following according to the number of grade 3s in your soul. 3 or more, all your grade 3s get 5 shield and plus boost. So, you know, all these being 5k shields is nice. And not to mention the fact they all have boost now. So it's, again, it's mainly there to, this is mainly here for the turn that you don't have all of the grade 3s that you need to get the boost skill, but then the other skill is 6 or more for the battle. This unit attack when your opponent will go cards when that guard sucks cost 3 or more at the same time. So that ability is really handy for some reason when it comes out of nowhere. Like, I've played games where, like I said earlier, where I just got lucky and all the grade 3s ended up in soul. But when the opponent has to constantly play around like the 3 card thing, if you don't kill them in 2 turns, they've probably won. Not by deck out, but just because that they've stalled long enough proves that they have enough like deck capabilities to stall, and they probably can out aggro you too, is the thing. While this skill coming out of nowhere has won me games so much. Because I have had games where Barfo was on the back foot, and by some miracle of God, like the game I top decked with Time Gyrate, and then I immediately got to 6 soul. My opponent literally couldn't stop it because they didn't prepare the game for that situation where they would actually get screwed over by that skill because it came out of nowhere. So what I've learned from this, unless the skill is going to kill in 2 turns, it's better just to come out of nowhere because it can probably kill someone in that move alone. Either way, the Baphormedes is a nice grade 3. You know, he's got the 5k shield buff. He's got the boost to all of your grade 3 units. He gets plus 10k for every 3 grade 3s in soul. So as long as you hit little Draco Kid over here, you'll have at least an extra 23k on the first swing, which is nice. And again, it does get you a draw, which is a nice benefit. I do wish he got you multi-attack, because that's what a lot of decks need to be decent nowadays. But hey, he has a good grade 3. I do like him a lot. Probably one of my favorite promo grade 3s to come out. So 3 of them in the main deck, 1 of them in the ride deck. And without further ado, I'm going to this one here. Hope you guys enjoyed. All around, this deck is actually nice to play. It was really funky and clunky back in whenever it was first released. I think it was around set 7. And then as time has gone on, it's gotten a little bit better and a little bit better. The more good grade 3s and generic grade 3s that Busher releases, the better the deck becomes. So this is where the deck is right now. Hopefully we get more cards to make them better. I'm really banking my money on Transrotor becoming a more prominent grade 3. You know, the Soul Boss 6 guy to basically give your whole board plus 10. So we'll see where that one goes though. But for now, I'm going to this one here. Hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, join us on Twitch. I'll see you all in the next one. Don't forget to set up your Vanguards.